Hello, people. We are Tottenham TV back here for a late night update and quite a few things to get into. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start off with Djed Spence, the World Cup hero. There's been an update on him. We've been talking about him a lot over the past couple of days and earlier today as well. But the latest update from Fabrizio Romano and Matti Moretto saying that Djed Spence's name is under consideration by Inter Milan after the Kaleli deal was off. He failed a medical earlier today. He said several options being considered depending on the price and budget, but Inter to decide soon on their favourite option. And yeah, this is to obviously replace Denzel Dumfries, who has moved to Real Madrid. SZY is saying the manager isn't a big fan of Djed. Djed wants game time. And he does say personally prefers to play on the left side, which is a bit strange to me.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something he's heard, or if he's taking it off something maybe Djed's been saying about how he's been playing on the left-hand side so much recently, that he's like more used to that now than playing on the right. But I don't know if he actually has a preference for playing on the left side. But all we do know is he's much more used to playing on the left side nowadays than on the right-hand side because of just how much he's played there. Wing, I think, same with I think being a wing back. He hasn't really been a wing back at Tottenham. He's only really been a fullback, so he's definitely not a kind of Dumfries kind of player. You know, I mean, he could maybe be molded into that. He's probably got the qualities to do it, but right now, how he's played is not. He's not been this marauding wing back who gets into the box and is basically like a winger, or he's like a forward player like Dumfries can be. Making crosses in, committing the fullback all the time. So he's going to have to be moulded into that. I think he does have the physicality and he probably does have the fitness to do it, but it's all about, does he have the quality when he goes in those positions to be a consistent threat like the likes of Dumfries and, Hakimi, those kind of players when they're playing a wing back. So it'd be very interesting if Inter Milan go for him. He definitely would suit Serie A. And I think he'd probably be a good player for them, but I don't know if he'd be the wing back they expect. That's the only thing.
Thing is, right, at Tottenham, he's got this narrative where he's much better defensively than he is going forward. But that wasn't the narrative when we signed him. When we signed him as an attacking fullback / wingback. That's what we thought we were signing. You know, a very fast player who's very good in the offensive phases. I remember when Arsenal, they played Nottingham Forest, I think it was, and he absolutely taught Arsenal a new one that day with his speed and his offensive ability. We're seeing at the World Cup as well, you know, his offensive ability come to the fore as well. So I think he can definitely do it. I just think at Spurs, it's not the role he's had within the team. I think he's very much been a defensive first player, but everywhere else I've seen him play, you know, he's always been an attacking minded player, in my opinion.
I think he himself sees himself as an attacking fullback. I don't think he's a player who thinks I can only defend. I'm only going to these situations. He likes to get forward. Like when he gets there, he's not shy about taking people on and stuff like that. I mean, when he plays on the left, he doesn't like to go on the outside too much, and that kind of hampers him. But I do think he's a player who likes to get forward. Like I remember he had that cameo against Burnley, and he was taking the defender on, playing right back, and he was getting forward. The question is, does he have the quality when he's getting to the final third? To like some of the other good fullbacks. Maybe he can develop that. Maybe he does have it. We just haven't seen it enough. I think he's a better defensive fullback than he's an attacking fullback. It doesn't mean he doesn't attack. I don't think he's just not shown to be not that great at it when he has done. That's the problem.
I think like he can be good at it. I think, you know, a bit of refining his final ball, but I think he can do it. I really believe that. I think he's got the qualities to do it. I think if Inter do sign him, I think it'll be a very good signing for them. I think with the physicality he has, I think he'll be unmatched down the wings in Serie A. I think he'll be a monster in that league. So look, we'll see which way it goes, but you know they're going to have to cop up the funds, and they got to cough up more than what the likes of Everton proposing, like 25 million. It's got to be north of 35 million at least, at the very minimum. So
you'd think if they're in competition with Premier League teams, that it's going to be tough for them to compete.
Yeah, you'd think so. And Inter don't usually spend too much money, but if they're desperate for a wing back, they might have to.
Oh, how much was Kalili? He was 30, right?
Is that what they were going to sign him for 30?
So, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was about 30. That's what I read. So I imagine they probably want to spend something similar.
Would you sell him for 30?
I think we can probably get a bit more from a Premier League team. So I'll probably say
Everton,
no.
Everton are saying they only want to go up to 25.
Yeah, but there'll be other Premier League teams.
I think you could probably stretch him to 35, maybe a bit more with a couple of add-ons. And I think he'd love going to Inter Milan. I think he's already played in Serie A. He's done very well there when he did go there, and to go play with the top team there, being the Champions League, I think it's a good move for him.
World Cup hype is a powerful thing, and I think after this World Cup, especially if we go on and win it, there will be more than just Everton in him. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, you're probably right. Let's move on and let's talk about Junior Kroupi, because SZY has claimed that Spurs have sent a verbal offer to Bournemouth for Kroupi. He said it was sent recently. I'm not sure what recently means. Does it mean recently today, recently yesterday, recently last week? We don't know, but Spurs have sent a verbal offer. And, all these different publications have said Spurs have sent an £85 million offer. So I don't know if the two are linked or they're two completely separate things, but that's what SZY is saying.
Well, we do have history for this because the Tonali deal, there was an offer that came in and was obviously rejected, but we didn't hear about it until I think a week later, or there was different reporting. But all we know is there was an offer either a few days or a week before we heard about it, and it only hit the mainstream news a lot later. So it's very possible that there's been an offer already come in, and probably at this point I would say rejected. I think if it was accepted, we would have heard about it. But I think it's very possible we've already had an offer rejected for Eli Kroupi. So I wouldn't be shocked about that at all. And then if it is true, then obviously it just goes to show how our intent in really attacking the market and trying to get the best possible attacker we can get. And I think Kroupi would definitely represent that in the Premier League. I think he's phenomenal. We've spoken enough about him. But yeah, I mean, I wonder if there has been an offer, and I wonder if how much that offer was. If obviously the first offer is always usually rejected, you don't usually get your first offer accepted, do you? So I wouldn't be shocked if that's maybe gone under the radar and that's happened already. But we haven't obviously heard anything. But as I said with Tonali, the same thing happened.
I would assume it is around the 85 million ballpark figure, and if we have gone in an 85 and it's been knocked back straight away, I assume Spurs are going to go in for another offer pretty soon, and it'll probably hit more of the sweet spot, 90, maybe 90 million plus a couple of million to get it up to like 95 or 100 in add-ons, and that could actually be the biting point.
Yeah, I think they're probably holding out for 100. We're saying, come on, 85, and then maybe we split the difference at 90 plus some add-ons, a bit similar to the Tonali deal.
You know what? 85 though is more than fair for Junior Kroupi. It really is, from a Bournemouth perspective, from everyone's perspective. It is more than fair.
I mean, 2 years ago we paid 65 for Solanke from Bournemouth, who had scored more goals than Kroupi. I know Kroupi's younger. You could definitely argue he's got a bit more of that star quality, better finishing ability. But at the time, Solanke was well sought after. One of the top goal scorers in the Premier League, was seen as the next English striker who's going to be in the squad. So that kind of price is probably more fair, to be honest, if you're looking at it now. But given the market's just going so crazy and Bournemouth don't want to sell, you either put the money up or shut up. And that's what we got to do.
Yeah. Well, let's see how it progresses. But apparently Spurs have sent a verbal offer to Bournemouth for Eli Kroupi. Next up, let's talk about Morgan Rogers again. We spoke about him earlier today. And the latest update is from SZY saying Arsenal are struggling to pay the price that Villa want for Morgan Rogers. The opportunity is there and Spurs are well aware of it. This sounds interesting, man. This sounds interesting.
Are we willing to put down 130 million? That's the question. That's clearly what Arsenal being asked of Arsenal. They, I'm assuming, don't want to put down 130 million. Maybe they're thinking we can get them down to 100 or so. Are we willing to go the extra mile and put that money down? I would love it if we did. I think he's phenomenal. But are we willing to go the extra step? We have done it for Fernandes. We have done it for Tonali. We've gone that little bit extra. Are we going to do it for Rodgers? And would he come?
I don't even know if Arsenal are willing to go as high as 100. Maybe I don't even know what Arsenal are willing to do. But you're looking at it as well, with Villa desperate for money. They've just lost 2 players to a release clause that is not going to help them too much with PSR. You're looking at Tielemans, who's gone for 35 million, Luca Dean, that's gone for 10 million. If they are as desperate for money as what they suggest, then maybe they should be accepting bids lower than 130. Because where else are they going to get the money from?
Did they sell Watkins? Did they sell? I
Even
don't know.
him, he's not going to command a massive fee now.
Yeah, they've already started, but they've just signed Manzambi. If they were that desperate, would they have signed him for such a big fee? You know, they
Yeah.
got him over the line, so they went for a hijack. I don't know exactly what their situation is, but obviously Rodgers is their star asset, isn't he? I don't think they're going to be selling him for anything less than what they need to sell him for, what they want to sell him for.
I don't think that Arsenal value him anywhere near as close to what Villa value him at. And I think that Julian Alvarez, he's the one that they want to spend the big money on. I don't think it's going to be Morgan Rodgers. I think if they can get a Julian Alvarez, I think that's who they'll pay the money for. I think a big offer could come in for him. I don't think it will be for Morgan Rodgers. I really don't.
Well, if you look at probably what they're missing is probably more with Alvarez than Rodgers. Because again, we've said with Rodgers, they've got Eze, they've got Odegaard, they've got similar players that can play in that position. Whereas they don't really have another Alvarez in the squad, do they? That kind of striker or second striker guy who has that little bit of quality in front of goal. You know, they've got Havertz as well, who can play the 10, but he's very different to Alvarez. I would say Gyökeres is more of a penalty box striker, whereas Alvarez sits in there like that little bit of in between. And he's probably more of the player they're missing than someone like Morgan Rodgers. So, yeah, I agree. If I'm Arsenal and you're going to spend over 100 million or that ballpark for one player, Alvarez or Rodgers, you'd probably go Alvarez. He's probably more the player you need.
Yeah, exactly. And as well, with Alvarez, we've heard that they've been heavily interested in Kroupi, but not willing to pay big money for Kroupi, or as big as that Spurs are willing to go. And Kroupi and Alvarez are very similar profiles, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So they're very similar. I do wonder whether, because Barca at the moment are still tracking Alvarez. I don't know what's going on with that. There's a big protracted transfer going on there. Real Madrid obviously made a whole hullabaloo about going for him, but who knows if Atletico actually sell to Real Madrid. The question mark is, let's say Alvarez gets picked up by one of those big giants for big money, over what Arsenal are prepared to pay. Do Arsenal then start to get the message that actually, if we want one of our players, we're just going to have to overpay? And at that point, do they actually, okay, you know what, we'll give you what you want for Rodgers? Or do they stick to their guns, a bit like Man United, and go, you know what, we're willing to miss out, even if it means going for a worse player or a player we don't really want? We're willing to miss out and not pay that fee because we're going to stick to our price. Just depends where they're at. They could do what we've done and just say, you know what, this market's crazy, but if we want the player, we're just going to have to overpay, and we're going to have to. That's what we're going to have to do. And that might happen if they miss out on Alvarez.
Yeah, that's why we need to strike while the iron is hot. Whilst they're negotiating for Alvarez, we need to be doing a deal for Morgan Rodgers. That's why we need to do that right now.
Yeah, but the question is, I can't see Rodgers jumping at the chance to come to Tottenham. That's the worry. Is if Arsenal win, would he wait?
One call with De Zerbi and he's going to be fully sold.
I only wanted Spurs. He's going to be safe. Look, I would go for it. I think it's going to be different to the other deals. But you know what? Tonali rejected City and Arsenal interested in him, and he jumped at the chance. And now that surprised me. So maybe Rodgers would do the same. Money talks at the end of the day. I would right now put the money down the table, try to beat the competition, and try to see if there's any way we can get Rodgers to agree. But I get the feeling this one will be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, you're probably right on that one. Let's talk about Vicario. SZY has said that Newcastle have asked for information on Vicario. However, he would prefer a move back to Italy. This is interesting because obviously Juventus going for Emi Martinez. Napoli can only sign a goalkeeper if they sell a goalkeeper. So if neither of these two moves work out, or let's say Juventus end up signing Emi Martinez, Newcastle could become a serious player in this move because they're looking for a replacement for Nick Pope. And it actually could be our preference to sell to Newcastle because they could probably pay the most money.
Definitely. I do wonder as well, could Villa be interested if Martinez leaves as well? Could there all of a sudden be a bit more? Yeah, obviously Newcastle decided not to sign Ramsdale as well, so he's gone back to Southampton, I believe. I think what Nick Pope's gone to Ipswich. Has that happened? Yeah.
Has he gone to Ipswich? I didn't even know that.
Have I made that up? I think he left, didn't he? I don't know.
I thought he's still there.
Is he still there, Nick Pope? Maybe I dreamt that. I swear, I swear I saw him in an Ipswich shirt. Anyway, I know that they
Right.
want. Huh?
I think he's on his way to Ipswich. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay. Maybe I didn't
He
make
hasn't
that
actually
then.
moved yet, but I think it looks like it's going to happen.
Okay, so he's going to go to Ipswich. So yeah, I think to be fair, like where Newcastle are at the moment, it's not like a terrible signing getting someone like Vicario. I think I don't think Eddie Howe requires, maybe what De Zerbi requires from his goalkeepers. I think Nick Pope got by from just being a very good shot stopper. Now, obviously, they got Ramsdale in because he's probably a bit better with his feet. They thought maybe he could replace Pope long term, but Ramsdale just wasn't good enough. That was just the reality. Even though he might be better with his feet, he was just never really that great. And I think they realised that once he came in and decided, we're not going to go with him. But could Vicario go there and do what Pope does, maybe to a bit of a better effect, be a really good shot stopper, I think he's Vicario, funnily enough, is probably even a bit better than Pope with his feet, because Pope is just dreadful with his feet. So I could see why they're interested, because he's a good goalkeeper and he's a very good shot stopper, and I think he could work at Newcastle.
Yeah. So again, might be one to watch this space, and we'll see if Emi Martinez does end up going to Juventus. Then I think this one might heat up a lot more. And last but not least, let's talk about Will Lankshear. Some interesting news coming from Alistair Gold, saying that Tottenham have turned down 3 approaches for Will Lankshear in recent days. Sporting, Southampton, and Wolves have all had approaches rejected, with some conversations involving sums in 8-figure range. That involves either a straight permanent transfer or a loan with an obligation to buy. So some big money being offered Will Lankshear here. You're talking about 10 million minimum in 8 figures, which is crazy, isn't it?
It's big. It is big. It surprises me that there are teams willing to put down, over 10 million to get Lankshear. And I understand in this day and age, a young English striker at his age, scoring goals at the way he was last season in the Champions. Not to say it was like, he didn't score 20 or anything, but he got a decent amount in his first real loan spell, where he started and played a whole season for a struggling Championship team. So clearly teams have taken notice. He hasn't gone under the radar. Obviously, Wolves have just got Jimenez. So I think if you're Lankshear, you probably don't want to go there because maybe Jimenez is going to get that starting spot. Is Sporting too big of a jump right now for him? I mean, what a move that would be if he were to sign there permanently for him. Or even a loan deal. That would be what an experience that would be for Will Lankshear.
I think it's all a moot point, because obviously Spurs are not looking to sell Lankshear. They don't want to sell him. If
right
they're
now,
rejecting those kind of offers, they're not going to sell him.
Right now though. We'll see what De Zerbi thinks of him when he takes a look at him in pre-season. Obviously, we have decided to sell some other players before De Zerbi's taken a look, like Vuskovic, Devine. So it's not like it's whether only on De Zerbi. Otherwise, he would go, because those other guys, De Zerbi didn't need to take a look at. We decided to sell. So if the money is right, then we would sell. But I think at this moment in time, it seems as though we're very intrigued as to maybe what we could do with him. I think also that plays into the fact that the striker market now is tough, because, as we're saying, we're looking for potentially 100 million for a player with 13 goals, who's only a year younger than Lankshear. So I think if you're Spurs and you've got a player who did get 11 goals last season, with the history of what happened with Harry Kane at Spurs as well, you'd be stupid not to at least just consider, can he do a role? How good could this guy be? Because imagine you take him in pre-season, you think this guy can actually do something. This guy could actually play for us, and you've got a striker there. Then you've got a striker there who maybe can get you 10 goals or something. That would be massive considering the market. Strikers that get you 10 goals now are like 60 million. That's the market. That's crazy. So I'm not saying he's that good. I'm just saying it'll be stupid to avoid that. I think Vuskovic is a bit different, because a centre-back, to be big money for a centre-back, you have to be absolutely outstanding. So I think 50 million probably makes a lot more sense. But for Lankshear, I think take a look at him in pre-season, see where he's at, see what De Zerbi thinks of him. Could he do a job? Could De Zerbi get some goals out of him? And even if he's not a long-term striker, even if he's here and he can get you like 5 to 10 goals, that all of a sudden puts you at the 30, 40 million pound bracket immediately. So I think you've got a worth taking a look at, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree. I love what I see from Will Lankshear. I've said many times, on this show that I wouldn't be against, or I'll be massively in favour of just having him around as the third choice striker. With any injury to Dom Solanke next season, on automatically he's the next in line, and we'll see a lot of minutes from the bench. So massive fan of Will Lankshear. Hope he can get an opportunity at Spurs next season. I'm very keen to see what he can provide in pre-season, which starts next week. I'm gassed for it. Can't wait. But look, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.